Henry VIII was once the most powerful man in England. He changed religion. He destroyed families. He murdered his wives and rewrote the Bible to get what he wanted. But in the end, he died rotting. His belly exploded inside his coffin, spilling black fluid across the chapel floor. And according to one account, a stray dog lapped it up. A king reduced to a puddle. And it was exactly what he deserved. Hey, if you're still watching, thank you. I put a lot into researching the darkest corners of history that most people try to forget. If you want more creepy, cinematic stories like this, subscribe. It helps me keep making videos like this for you. And if you found this story as disturbing as I did, hit like and tell me in the comments, would you want to be buried next to Henry VIII? Now, let's unravel this horror story from the beginning. Before he exploded, before he became a swollen, festering corpse that poisoned the floor of a church, Henry VIII was England's golden boy. Born on June 28, 1491, Henry wasn't meant to be king. He was the second son of Henry VII and Elizabeth of York. His older brother, Arthur, was the one groomed for the throne. But Arthur died young, and the crown fell unexpectedly into Henry's lap. And at first, he was glorious. Henry VIII was tall for his time, over 6 feet 2 inches. He was strong, athletic, charming, fluent in multiple languages, a gifted composer, a warrior prince with a mind for politics and a hunger for grandeur. He loved tournaments, music, theology, and above all, power. At just 18, he married his brother's widow, Catherine of Aragon. The marriage, though controversial, was politically convenient and approved by the Pope. England rejoiced. He wasn't just a king, he was a king. Renaissance, Reformation, and realpolitik in one thundering, laughing, hunting body. But this wasn't a fairy tale. It was a slow-building tragedy. Over time, Henry began to change. That hunger for power, it became obsession. His charming youth gave way to mood swings, paranoia, and bursts of cruelty. He desperately wanted a son, a male heir to secure the Tudor line. But Catherine gave him only one surviving child, a daughter, Mary. So Henry looked for a way out. And when the Pope refused him an annulment, Henry did the unthinkable. He split from the Catholic Church, declared himself supreme head of the Church of England, and got his divorce by brute force. This wasn't just a spiritual decision. It was a declaration of war on God himself, as some saw it, and it changed England forever. He married in Boleyn, then Jane Seymour, then in Cleves, then Catherine Howard, then Catherine Parr. 6 wives in total. 2 divorced, 2 executed, 1 died in childbirth, 1 outlived him. Behind palace walls, Henry became something monstrous. He gorged on roasted swan, venison, sugar-drenched sweets, and barrels of ale and wine. By his late 40s, he was obese, possibly 390 pounds. He suffered from gout, migraines, and ulcers that oozed pus and stank so badly that servants gagged near him. By 1546, the man who had once bested knights in the lists could barely walk. He was carried around on special wheel platforms. His leg ulcers, likely caused by diabetes or severe infection, never healed. His armor had to be remade again and again as his waistline ballooned. He was still king, still feared, still obeyed, but beneath the robes and rings, he was already rotting. And the worst was yet to come. Henry VIII didn't just change England. He scorched it. His legacy isn't just wives and weight gain. It's betrayal, blood, and broken oaths. Let's start with the wives. Catherine of Aragon, married 24 years, cast aside for not giving him a son, forced into isolation, died heartbroken. And Boleyn gave him Elizabeth I, accused of adultery, incest, and treason, beheaded with a French sword. Jane Seymour gave him the son he wanted, Edward, died days after childbirth. Anne of Cleves, divorced because he found her unattractive. Catherine Howard, beheaded at 17 for alleged infidelity, executed screaming. Catherine Parr, narrowly avoided execution after arguing theology with him. And that's just a domestic horror. Beyond the palace, Henry waged war against the church itself. He dissolved over 800 monasteries, looted relics, melted down chalices, took sacred land and gave it to nobles for loyalty. Thousands of monks and nuns were thrown into the streets, starved, died. He had Thomas More, his trusted advisor and friend, beheaded for refusing to acknowledge Henry as head of the church. He signed off on executions like they were paperwork. In one of his bloodiest acts, he ordered the Pilgrimage of Grace, a rebellion of northern Catholics crushed with brutal force. Hundreds were executed, some disemboweled alive. By some estimates, over 70,000 people were executed during his reign. This was not justice. This was not law. This was a king playing God, and the people feared him, not out of respect, not out of loyalty, out of sheer survival. By the end of his life, few dared speak truth to him. He was isolated, bloated, infected, and unstable. Even the clergy feared giving him last rites, because saying he was dying could be considered treason. They say you die how you live. Henry had lived violently, cruelly, gluttonously, and so the earth itself would answer. January 28, 1547. Henry VIII died at Whitehall Palace. His death was not quiet. It was not holy. The royal physicians had done everything to hide the truth, but his body was failing rapidly. Kidneys likely shut down, ulcers infected, and blood poisoned. He was grossly obese, possibly suffering from untreated diabetes or Cushing syndrome. In his final hours, he was reportedly in pain, semi-delirious, unable to be comforted. The priests hesitated. No one wanted to be the one to suggest the king was dying. But finally, someone summoned courage and asked if he wanted a confessor. He whispered one word, "Yes." He died shortly after, at the age of 55. Then came the next problem: what to do with the body. They embalmed him, stuffed the coffin with herbs, and sealed it in thick, lead-lined wood. The body had to wait several days before burial, long enough for gases to build up. On the way to Windsor Castle, the coffin rested overnight at Syon Abbey, a former monastery he had desecrated during the dissolution. And it was there that it happened. The explosion. The gas buildup inside his bloated body caused the abdomen to rupture. The coffin began leaking. Black, putrid fluid seeped out onto the floor. One 17th century chronicler wrote, "Such was the swollen and corrupt state of the king's body that it burst within its coffin, and the floor of the church was defiled by the royal excrement." According to legend, a dog wandered into the chapel. It sniffed the leaking fluids, and it drank. The monks, horrified, quoted scripture, "And the dog shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel." Was it divine justice, a biblical omen, or just a natural consequence of a man whose sins had become physical? Henry was finally buried beside Jane Seymour, the wife who gave him his only male heir, and there he remains. But no grand tomb was built, no grand effigy. The king who once dominated Europe lies under plain stone slab. His flesh exploded, his reputation crumbled, his dynasty died with his children, but his story refuses to rot. Henry VIII, the king who ruled like a god and died like a beast. If you made it this far, thank you. Truly, history isn't just dates and names. It's messy, weird, horrifying, and sometimes poetic. If you want more unsettling tales like this one, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and tell me in the comments, would you want your tomb next to Henry VIII? Until next time, sleep tight, and remember, no king escapes the grave forever.